you live ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors on a reaction Monday. East Carolina falls to BYU 34-13 on Saturday night inside Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. A couple of plays away from it being a really good game. We'll get into our thoughts and more. The comments section are open across YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you have anything to say, and I'm sure Pirate fans have a lot to say, after a difficult loss, drop it in there. We'll get to it over the course of the next hour. Again, you can catch the replay of the show if you miss any of it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, also archived on YouTube, Facebook, and X as well, and the IBX Media app. Pirates lose 34-13 to BYU, which is now ranked 25th nationally. East Carolina falls to 2-2 on the season. A whole lot to get into. Philip Pilkinen producing today's show, and we'll just start off here with my thoughts on the top. Look, ECU played undisciplined at key points of the game, had unfortunate turnovers. The whole sequence right before half was a backbreaker in multiple ways. The pick inside the BYU 10 on second and goal from the 6 obviously can't happen, and the pick 6 coming off your own 1 can't happen. And you do those things against a team that doesn't make mistakes. BYU is ranked for a reason. They play complementary football. They don't make mistakes. ECU made the glaring mistakes in a game that was pretty even, which we'll get more into here in a minute. It was lopsided on the scoreboard, 34-13, because the Pirates made the 2 or 3 big mistakes that you can't make in a game like this. So Pirates lose it. A lot of lessons to learn from it. Some good takeaways, but at the end of the day, a frustrating loss and a big opportunity. Philip Pilkinen, your take on Saturday's outcome.
Well, first off, I felt like people were really ticked off post-game. And I think with how East Carolina played, everybody's got the right mindset to be ticked off because you didn't play well. This is probably the worst they've played since Blake Harrell took over as head coach. However, I would encourage the Pirate fandom to do the 24-hour rule the players do. And the players do it because they have to move on to the next opponent. But the reason I'm going to challenge the Pirate Nation to do it this week is it's okay to be ticked off that you didn't play well and a national team came in, there were all these people, ESPN2, and you laid an egg. But I think the Pirate fans need to flip the script to conference play after that 24 hours. Again, cuss, break the remote, do whatever you got to do, and realize that before that long run, each team was averaging 4.2 yards a carry if you take away sacks, because, sacks count as negative rushing yards for some dumb reason in college football. But true rushing plays, you were averaging the same amount. You put up over 400 yards on a team who has only allowed 400 yards twice in the last 2 years. You finally ran blocked, the best you've ran blocked all year, and you did it against the best D-line you're going to see all season long. So my point in bringing all this up is you have every right to be ticked we played bad, but I have more optimism going forward now than I did have coming into that game. If that is the worst game East Carolina plays all year, I say our floor is 8-4. Because I think the only team that if you played at your full potential, and we saw their potential, they just made way too many mistakes. The only teams that can beat you without you beating yourselves, I think, are Tulane and Memphis. Everybody else on this schedule, you proved down in and down out in that game. You can beat, but you've got to limit the mistakes.
It goes one of two ways right now. I think it's one of those things where, look, if ECU, if they clean up the big mistakes, this can be a very good team. As you mentioned, they can compete for a conference championship. But if these bad turnovers in the red zone, these 1 or 2 critical breakdowns a game, the penalties continue, then ECU, like if they don't get that cleaned up, it won't matter what the ceiling is because they won't reach it because of the constant mistakes. So at this point, it's about how much can they clean it up, how much can they truly learn from these back-breaking errors, And if they do those things, and it has to start quickly, because Thursday, if you go against a team that's going to play, once again, complimentary football, not make mistakes. I know they made mistakes versus North Texas, but I promise you they will not make those mistakes against ECU, because that's how it works. If ECU can clean up those errors, they can win Thursday, and this season can go in a very positive direction. But they have got to fix those problems. We can get into some of the offensive play calling and all of that, which I know people have had a problem with as well. But I'm with Philip. Like, you know, I was encouraged by the eye test. Like, ECU did not like they didn't belong, and it's been twice though now. And I think the frustration comes from you've had big opportunities against NC State and BYU that you could have won the game without the glaring mistakes, and we saw those in big opportunities. And we know ECU fans, they really want to see ECU succeed in these games for obvious reasons. How many more times are you going to get a shot at a Big 12 team in your home stadium? We talked about in the pregame show. Maybe not ever. It's like, I think that's what's leading to the, I don't want to say overreaction, but definitely the initial, like, man, we just blew an opportunity on a national stage, which I totally get from the fans' perspective. You know, that in itself leads to a lot of frustration. You had a chance to really capitalize on momentum in a big spot. I think that's a lot of the frustration more than anything, because as somebody in the comments said, it's not like BYU dominated the game. ECU just shot itself in the foot. So we don't really know how a one-possession game would have played out in the end.
No, we don't. And I agree with what you were saying there. So why the frustration? And I think from what I was reading and people I was talking to, I think that's really what it came down to. You know, they were ticked off. They were blaming this guy or blaming that. But I think that was it. You know, if this happens and there's nobody in the stands and you're playing Liberty, you know, last year's maybe Liberty team, I think people were ticked off, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, we shot ourselves in the foot, move on to conference play next week. I think, like you said, the ESPN2, the Big 12 opponent, a national brand, and I think, you know what, a little bit of it might have to do with the fact that they traveled too. Like, it wasn't only that you were upset leaving, but there were other people showing up to your building leaving happy. And I do want to credit the BYU fans. I think that's something maybe that's been lost during all this because everybody's so caught up in the game. They showed up. They were extremely loud considering there was only about 2 sections of them. And I've seen a lot of posts from BYU fans on social media talking about how well they were treated, how they enjoyed their experience. So thanks to the Pirate Nation for treating a fan base who treated us very well a few years back, treating them well, making them feel welcome. And, yeah, so I think that adds to the frustration too, right? Like, hey, we finally get this team who actually travels and fans care, because let's be honest, our conference, when it comes to fan bases, is a joke. And the one time the opposing team shows up, we lose.
And I've got something to say. Look, I don't like going at the ECU fans, but like, and I'm torn on this because I will say I wrote that the game fell over at halftime. But man, like, where did the students go? It's the 13-3 game at halftime. Why is 3/4 and half the purple seats clearing out? I get it. I have a family. If I took my family to the game, it's hard. But like, not to keep coming at the students, but like, man, what are y'all doing at 9:30 on a Saturday night?
I really want to know that because I thought about that. I looked at other games. Like, okay, Colorado. I was watching them because by the time we got home, that's the only thing that was on. I mean, they're playing Wyoming. And yes, Laramie to Boulder is a short drive, but it's not like it's a rivalry. And like their student section in the second half, you could start to see it kind of fizzle out at the top. But like at halftime, or coming out of the second half, it was still there. Like what this students, yeah, we say we're tired of calling it fans. You know what? I'm not going to call it the fans, the true fans, and the donors. But this student section has become a flipping joke. You know what? In 2010, 2012. When, everybody was painted up like skeletons and they stayed till the end. Well, it was a little different when I was here and we were only winning 3 games under Scotty Moe. Hey, guess what? Blake Harrell's only lost, 3 games as the head football coach of East Carolina. And you're leaving? Yeah, this student base, this students, they suck. I'll say it. You're leaving at halftime in a 10-point game the last time you're ever going to get a Big 12 opponent in here. They should be ashamed. Somebody needs to glue their rear ends to the darn seats. Or you know what? Don't even come. If you're going to sit there and quit and go to the bars, guess what? The bars were open Friday night. Have fun at the bars on Friday night. You know what? You can still party after college. It's not like you only get 4 years. You're not going to go 100% into adulting. I still go to the Bucks sometimes. on Friday nights we have nothing going on. Like stay for the freaking game.
And the game ended at 11. It's a perfect time to go to the bars. And look, I understand it. ECU did not end the first half in a good way at all. And in fact, you could say they ended the first half in the the worst possible situation. And I do think it is becoming a culture problem. I think it is becoming a culture problem because ECU has not been consistently good at football for some time now. I don't think the students understand like what a good college football atmosphere is supposed to be, because when they go to the games, it's not as important as it used to be, because ECU as a program has not been what it was when I was a student. Like, you did not leave in a 13-3 game against a top 25 opponent on ESPN2. I mean, what are we doing at halftime? Like, I can understand in the fourth quarter when it's 34-13, but like when the team runs out of the tunnel, man, if that student section is packed in the second half, you know how much of an uplifting feeling they get if they get, cheered on their first, time out of the tunnel after that defensive stop to start the second half. And instead, it's just deflating. And we'll get into it was really deflating. But like home field advantage, it's called a home field advantage for a reason. You're supposed to bring up your team, uplift your team. So I think we're starting to have a culture problem as a result of many poor seasons or lack of consistent winning, and maybe you get that back.
You've been a bowl game 3 of the last 4 years, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Scotty Moe ruined part of it, and I get that some of it, but I think some of it's just the students just not giving a crap anymore.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And it was Parents Weekend. Maybe the parents were like, "Hey, let's." Maybe it's a parents' problem.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
And I get if you didn't grow up as say you're a parent, you went to a different school, but like if you're a parent, wouldn't you want to be happy that Parent Weekend's a Big 12 opponent, not like the FCS game that nobody gives a rat's behind about?
I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. Some comments from the fans. There's people on both sides of this. I got my brother texting me saying that ECU didn't score, so people should have left.
I get it, Scott,
BYU,
but
man.
it's
what do you expect? The 40-30 game? Like, you got to have some sense of what's going on.
Here's the thing, Scott. I understand it does make it like it's one thing to be down like 28-17 at halftime as opposed to 13-3. I do get that because people like offense. I get where you're coming from. But also, I do want to remind you, it's still early. It's only one bad half of football. Could you imagine if all the Army fans left the other day when they were down big? I mean, they come back and forced overtime. Or all the Eagles fans left yesterday when they were down 19-7 at halftime. I get what you're saying, Scott, but for halftime, we're not talking beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, fourth quarter, if it's 20-3, I get it.
Yeah.
Halftime. How many games have we seen just completely change in the second half? All right, Andrew says, this is my first big game back in Dowdy since I graduated in 2017. My family and I came down from Baltimore. I was highly disappointed in the fans. Yes, there were butts in the seats, but the crowd was quiet. You could hear a pin drop when BYU was on offense. The only time the fans got loud was on 3rd and long. Ben Byram, who stopped by the pregame show, says, students have better things to do on a Saturday night when we don't give them a reason to stay. Also, fans quickly became dead early in the third. Me and Chris were yelling at people to get up.
Oh, I'm sure they were. Him and Chris, him and Cookie, another former IBX employee, those two will stay till the end, and they are passionate. But, for those who didn't listen to the pregame show, I challenged our fans in the pregame show.
You did.
Look, we had all day to drink and get rowdy. Dude, do you know what time Utah kicked off at? 10 a.m. their time against Texas Tech. And the amount of pre-snap penalties by Texas Tech because they could not hear a darn thing. The amount of times the center didn't snap the ball for Texas Tech was crazy. And you can only be so feeling good at 10 a.m. So if they can do it at 10 a.m., why can't you do it at 7:30?
I mean, ECU had, 4 times as many pre-snap penalties as BYU?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say football must be different in Utah because
must be.
These fans are crazy. Shout out to the BYU fans, although there's a few of them on Twitter that are really starting to tick me off and that I've got a problem with. So the rest of them, though, are good. All right, John Moody says the concessions are a complete joke. I bit my tongue at Campbell because I didn't want to be a wet blanket, but our concessions are not good.
So this has been how long has this been a problem? Because I don't obviously go to concessions anymore.
I'll be honest, it's hard for me to comment on it because we're in the box. I'll say the press box food, while it was better, has not been great either the last few years compared to what it used to be.
We used to have chicken and waffles and barbecue, and now it's like undercooked hamburgers.
Yeah.
At least it's free.
He says gate scanners, they aren't good too. How do you have 2 working scanners at gate 1? I know getting to the game, a lot of people are complaining about that, which like I can see it both ways, like the bottleneck of everybody trying to get in 30 minutes before. But like, I don't know, it just feels like this stuff comes up every year in these types of games.
Yeah, and last year we played, I don't remember who it was, but it was a decently big game, and there was increased security because J.D. Vance was in town. So, like, the fact that you've already had to have a VP candidate in town and had to go through like, it should be that much easier to handle when it's just a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, so you've already had something that laid the foundation that was actually extra you had to do security-wise. Now you've got less. I mean, it should be that hard. Like, it's not the first time we've ever had 50,000 people. We didn't just add the upper deck last week.
Ben Byram says, took 30 minutes to get through the gates. Pirate 2031, why does our band play when we are on offense? That's a culture issue. Is the band really... I'll be honest, we are so isolated from sound in the press box. It's basically soundproof. I can't even hear, like, the intro.
They play, like, after every play. But then they have to stop when there's like 25 seconds left on the play clock, I think, is what it is.
They're playing when ECU's on offense?
Yeah, they're playing both. I don't love that. I noticed that when I was a student. But also when I was a student, there was like 14 people in the stands because Scotty Moe was winning 3 games a year. My first student game as student, we lost to JMU. So that was part of it.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter. But yeah, I'm with that. Like, but also, like, I get the band, they want to do something. But yeah, maybe they should, sit on their instruments during offense.
John, going back to the culture thing, I think the lack of winning has killed the student turnout. We don't have a culture of winning the last 10 years, and they're adding that Utah has a culture of winning. So, Ben saying the fan experience with the stadium also contributes to killing the culture. Honestly, it's not family or even fan-friendly at all. There's lines to get up to your section. Yeah. So, look, I mean, these are the things that come up when the Pirates lose. And I'm sure there would still be complaints if ECU won the game. I will say, if you don't, again, it goes back to the culture thing, Philip. If you're not, I know we got to get a break in, but if you're not used to consistently having big crowds, you can prepare for it. But, like, if you have a big crowd every 2-3 years, one time, it's hard to simulate that to really know what the logistical issues are. So True. I think it just kind of comes down.
True, but, I mean,
it's all that.
My thing is, if you did it right 15 years ago, do it the same thing you did when we packed it out every game 15 years ago. I mean, are there a few more stands? Sure, but, like, there should be a few more gates, have a few more ticket scanning people. I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because you are right, Igo, but I don't know, man. It's just frustrating.
Frustrating. Pirates lose 34-13. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll try to get more into the football side of things. And it's just such a weird week because, like, we're 3 days out from ECU Army already. So we'll get into some of that. We already had our press conference. I kind of got a different vibe this time from ECU going into an option game. I'll maybe hit on that if we have time. We have to save it for tomorrow. But we'll get more into the football after this Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Reaction Monday. Pirates fall to BYU 34-13. A lot of good discussion going on in the chat, especially YouTube chat. I probably need to check the Twitter and Facebook chat as well, but that's occupying all my time. A lot of talk about concessions and the band and all that good stuff. Yeah. So we'll see if we can circle back. You had a question? Or
I got a text from Madison that said there was more hatred and negativity in the stands than he had ever seen. He's been here since 1976. He said as a former player, it really hurts to see the fans just being so negative.
Yeah, and you know how much of this, too, is just, I don't know, fans tailgating all day, you know, having some alcohol in the system. I don't know. Or just the way the game played out. It was a very frustrating – look, the defensive struggle games are frustrating to watch, so, like, I get the frustration. But, yeah. Robert in the chat says, lines, ? Go to a 20,000-seat stadium if you don't like lines. I had no problems with my beer and chicken nachos. So Robert says all is good on the Robert front. So that is part of it, too. Like, if it is a near sellout, you are going to have to wait in line.
Yeah, you are going to have to wait in line because our concessions are not really built to – really a full capacity, unfortunately, because when they built a lot of concessions, they had not added some of the seats. But also, I'm one of those people that when I go to a game, like I eat and drink before, and then I usually just buy water when I'm in there, like even when I go to like a Panthers game. So, however, you know what ECU needs to get, though? They need to get the guys walking up and down the aisle, at least selling drinks and maybe popcorn so that people don't have to, because that's the nice thing, like a Panthers game, I don't get up from my seat. I buy like one water, maybe one water per half, but there's a guy walking up and down selling it, and I just buy it. I never get out of my seat.
This is true, and it saves you a lot of time. If you want to sit there and watch the game, you don't have to worry about that. Also,
I don't want to miss any plays. Yeah. I mean, you're paying money to go to a game.
Yeah. All right, so back to the football on the field. All right, so interesting chart here. Parker Fleming on Twitter puts out a "Did we really get beat that bad?" chart based on net success rate in Week 4. He puts it out every week. And so what it does is, if you're unfamiliar with what this means, it's a graph, and he tweets, all net success rate does is strip out some noise and present a view of how two teams compared in the down-to-down business of moving the football. He adds, games are won and lost with explosives, special teams, turnovers, etc., and looking at net success rate just shows us how close the margins were. It's a good diagnostic to go back and look at a game and learn something. So you look at it, this chart, a lot of big discrepancies for a lot of these games. ECU, BYU, tiny discrepancy on net success rate. These two teams were pretty much even. BYU slightly better on net success rate, but based on the net success rate, it should have played out as basically a one-score game and could have gone either way. Instead, ECU makes the critical errors that end up costing, as we mentioned at the top of the show. But it goes back to, it's just further, I guess validation would be the right word, that ECU was right there. So if you want to spin it in a positive direction, you can. The play off the 1 yard line, I've gone back and watched it like 20 times just to try to figure out what was happening. And I don't know. I went back and watched it, Phillip. And like Anthony Smith, he pointed before the snap. And I don't know if he was pointing at a potential blitzer or if he was like pointing like, hey, I've got room right here to operate. But, Caton obviously saw the off coverage. Great play by the corner, but like easy play. You play off there because you're guarding against the hitch. You're not going to play press coverage and try to give up a 99-yard touchdown in that situation. So it was a bad play by Caton. He said as much, but like, why even put yourself in that situation if you're the coaching staff? You just can't leave any doubt there. You got to know 100% what you're doing.
Yeah, so there I would have been fine just running the ball. At the end of the day, your goal there is to not take a safety and go to halftime. Blake Harrell did say post-game that it was an RPO. I think where Caton messed up was he made the read pre-snap, and even though Caton made the correct read, because he didn't carry out the mesh point of the RPO and he stared down Anthony the whole time, it allowed the corner to see it. So even though Caton makes that decision, hey, I'm going to throw, he still just needs to turn his shoulders and pretend like it's still an RPO. And then it hopefully freezes the corner the extra step. In my opinion, and I don't know that much, probably need to talk to Coach Logan about this, but that's what I think was the mess up. But again, I don't love the RPO there in general.
You're on your 1 yard line with 59 seconds left in the half. BYU has one timeout. They probably would have called a timeout if your quarterback snuck it one time. I mean, to me, like, I guess they didn't, this isn't an under center offense, although they did go under center from 3rd and goal from the 8, which really rubbed me the wrong way because, like, that was an obvious passing situation. But I guess, I don't know, like, I just would have put, and this, I'll preface this with this, always easy to second guess. Hindsight's 20/20, but like put Mike Wright in the game, quarterback sneak it unless they just haven't practiced that, and just make sure you don't lose a yard. I don't like do that twice, 3 times, and go in a half, and you're down 6-3. But maybe they did not trust that they could block it. At times Darius Bell, the center, had been pushed back, but they had actually run the ball pretty good. So I don't know. Anthony Smith didn't really run a route. Like he 100% did not anticipate the ball based on the way he reacted. So I don't know. I mean, it's just that I really think if it's 6-3 going in half, it's just such a different feel. I mean, that was like honestly one of the worst plays. Regardless of how it played out, that was one of the worst plays I've seen in Dowdy-Ficklin. I know it's been debated on Hoist the Colors, like, is it the worst play ever? No, the worst play ever was the Hail Mary against UCF. That would never be tied. You can't take a knee and lose the football game. No. That will always be number one. But, like, just given the circumstances, that one, man, it'll be second guess for a long time. The other thing that was weird, as Emmanuel points out in the comment section, the QB center exchange seemed to suffer all night. Like, Caton was dropping the snap a lot, and, like, some of them were even good snaps. You had bad snaps at times. Like, I don't know if and I'll say this, we talked to Jamarion McCrimmon, ECU left tackle. He said BYU did a ton. Almost felt like at times in the game, and credit to BYU for this, this is a big reason why they're such a good defense, they mixed it up so much. Like ECU, instead of just playing their game, like they were just second-guessing. Caton looked like he wasn't sure what the read was based on all their changing. Like, it just seemed very out of sync. And that, we saw that with the false starts. I think they kind of got away from, hey, what are we going to do, and just worried about what BYU was trying to do, which is maybe a credit to BYU. I
think it's credit to BYU. And, you mentioned the snaps. How much, and this is something I think we can get into next, how much does that bad snap on 3rd and 1 on that first drive possibly be? I think that's been lost in all this other stuff, right?
Yeah, all the momentum.
You have a great kickoff return. You're 3rd and 1, so obviously 3rd and manageable, and then that happens. But, you mentioned all the stuff BYU does and how discombobulated I think our offense looked at some points. That, again, right there proves You were discombobulated half the time. You looked like you didn't know what you were doing. Now, whether they did or not is different. We don't know. You still put up over 400 yards. That shows, again, reiterating what I was talking about earlier, this team's ceiling is very high, and I think their floor is even very high with the schedule. And to your point about BYU, do you credit BYU? I think you have to. I think people forget because there wasn't a number next to their name. This is a top 12 team in the country. Look, if you look at their roster, 1 to 85. Now, the inexperience at quarterback hurts because quarterback's such an important position. But just truthfully look at their roster, 1 to 85, and you said you just put the best 12 teams in the playoff just based off the talent on their roster. I'm 100% putting BYU in the college football playoff.
Look, BYU just paid a basketball player $7 million. Yeah, I imagine they're spending a ton on their football team. They're spending, and now he was the top recruit in the country, but according to a report, he's making $7 million for the coming season. AJ DeBonsa. So, like, they're spending an inordinate amount of money, and they have legit talent. So, like, to Philip's point, they are, if they had Jake Retzloff, they would be a top 15 team. So we do have to remember that for sure. And Bear Bachmeier, I give him credit too. Like, I will say their coordinator's called a great game. Their coaching's legit. They play complimentary football. Their coordinator put them in position to succeed. But he looked better than I thought he would, and that was, I thought, a big point in the game. Yeah, he didn't have to lead them down for like a game-winning drive because of how the game played out. But he made enough throws to, in many ways, kind of take ECU out of what it wanted to do defensively at times.
Yeah, I thought he did a very good job of letting the game come to him still. You know, he still only has the 2 starts under his belt, and this was his first start against a legit defense, right? We know that. And he didn't try and go out there and play hero ball, and he just looked to me like he learned so much in that off week, in that bye, and he learned so much as this game went on, but he still didn't. He never tried to press. He let the game come to him. I think the young man's got a really high ceiling. He wouldn't be in this position if he doesn't. He's just inexperienced, but he's becoming more and more experienced with every snap, and he made every single play that he needed to make in order for that game to go his team's way.
All right, we'll get more into what happened on the field, your comments, a lot of good takes in the chat. I should say some mostly good takes. We got some bad takes as well, but we'll read the good ones after this. Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday. We'll talk about that and talk about those things and a whole lot more after this.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef.
brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Get ready to board.
We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a reaction Monday. East Carolina loses to BYU 34-13. And we got a lot of comments, questions to read. Somebody asked, did Mike Wright get a snap? Philip Hilkinen producing today's show. We talked on the pregame show, Philip. I felt like this was going to be a Mike Wright game. I was dead wrong. And he did not play. And maybe it's just because of how the game played out. But, like, I don't know, man. If you got a kid of that talent, at some point, and there's a fine line. But, like, at some point, man, you just got to find a way to utilize him. I don't know. Like, no snaps, kind of surprising. He had 81 offensive plays.
Yeah, you bring that up, and it was weird. But also, I think it was one of those things, too, where, we talked about it, a little bit ago, that if the offense was never really in sync, how much more out of sync could it have been brought by, like, bringing in a different style player? Now, 0 snaps at all. Like, I thought we'd at least seen him in the slot, tried to run some sort of end around or something, or use him as a decoy, because I don't think that affects the flow of the offense. But when Caton, we think, was kind of struggling to figure out, what BYU was doing, the second you put somebody else in the backfield, if you take, because we were very good on first down at getting yards, as long as we didn't have a false start. If they tee off on you on first down and all of a sudden it's 2nd and 14 because you tried to run some funky gadget play, I mean, you're just putting yourself behind the sticks before you commit your false start. And then you're probably going to commit a false start on the next play. So
if you're committing false starts with the starting quarterback, you're probably going to commit even more with the backup.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, man. It was frustrating, and I get where you're coming from, but I just think there was never a flow off it. And sometimes I think as an OC, when you're trying to get stuff figured out, like, you don't think about that kind of stuff,
All I know is watching the game, ECU, and Kalani Sitake, the BYU coach, said it afterwards. He was like, he didn't say it like this, but he basically said they played right into our hands. He was like, we wanted them to check at the line of scrimmage, get out of tempo, because then that allowed us to run our defense. And there were times when ECU was in tempo, and you could tell the BYU defense was gassed, specifically on that long drive that ended with the Caton pick. That play, ECU ran a flood concept, but they ran max protect, flood concept, rollout. There were 2 players on routes. I think BYU dropped 7. So, I mean, that's just one of those where you got to obviously eat it or throw it out of bounds and go play third down. But I don't know, man. It's frustrating when that happens.
It's one of those where, just real quick, that play, what you hope is one of the guys who's in max protect eventually, like, leaks out.
Yeah. And Gunn, like, he maybe was about to.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody watched the Green Bay Cleveland game yesterday. Green Bay had one offensive touchdown. That's what happened. They had a rollout play, and they had max protect. And whoever that tight end was, he was like the number 3 tight end, just realized he had nobody to block. So he just took like 2 steps into the end zone and turned around. And Jordan, like the second he turned around, Jordan Love hit him with the ball. But that's asking college kids to do something an NFL guy picked up on in the heat of the moment. Like, it's easier said than done, but that's how you fix that.
ECU on actual running plays, design runs, 34 carries, 136 yards, 4 yards carry. If you would have told me that going in, Now, if you look at the raw stats, the sacks take it down to, I think, 3.4 yards a carry, but the design runs. If you would have told me ECU averaged 4 yards a carry on 34 attempts against this defense, I mean...
Imagine what they're going to do to American Athletic Conference or American Conference.
So this should be... I know people are saying, like, we can't run the ball, but, like, this showed me ECU can run the ball. So...
Yeah. I mean...
I don't know.
I want you... Can you... I mean, I'm not telling you what to say.
Yeah.
But can you reiterate that point you talked to me about during the break about that long run? Because I think that was a great point.
Yeah. So London Montgomery had by the way, outside zone, which was good to see too. We saw some outside running, and maybe that goes back to the point of people say like ECU can't run up the middle. I will say the blocking on the interior has been a struggle at times. So I did like that they hit some different concepts this game. That was an outside zone to the left side. Jamarion McCrimmon had one of the best seal blocks I've seen an ECU offensive tackle make in years on a big boy for BYU. So that shows me they at least had the potential. That was a 33-yard run. I think BYU had only given up like a long run of 7 yards or something going to the game.
And
so
how many pounds? The guy blocked was one of their 300-pounders. How big is Jamarion McCrimmon? He's got to not be bigger than like 245 or something, right?
I mean, he's listed at 300 plus.
No way, dude. I saw Jamarion McCrimmon 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes before the show started.
He's more tall and athletic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to bet. Like, Jamarion is an athlete. He's not a big guy.
Still a redshirt sophomore, still growing to his body.
Yeah.
He's a big dude, but he's not thick.
He was not nearly as big as that boy he was blocking, I can tell you that.
No.
And he did a darn good job doing it.
All right, we get a lot of comments about the running backs. Who should be the primary running back? And I'll say this. Look, I said pregame, I don't know what's happened to Marlon Gunn. And maybe he was listening because he looked – I was talking about, like, what happened to his burst. I haven't seen it. He looked bursty. Is that a word? I don't know.
Now it is.
Like, he looked – I said the last time I saw Marlon Gunn look like he had burst was against BYU in 2022. Maybe he just needs to play BYU every week. I thought Marlon Gunn looked as good as he's looked in a long time. I don't know if I'm ready to call him the number one back. I do think him and Montgomery look better, but I still don't know if you have a number one back at this point.
I think the frustrating part is you want one guy to emerge because I don't think they want a number one back drive in and drive out or down in and down out. But what I need a number one back for is 3rd and 5, minute 42 on the clock. Opponent's got one timeout left, 3-point lead. Who am I handing the ball to? I need a guy to emerge because I need a guy in that situation. I don't need a guy who's a clear-cut number one because I'm going to use him on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th drive of the game and not ever use anybody else. It's the big moments. It's the big moments when you need a first down. So I think we are still looking for that guy, but right now I think this game proved that drive in and drive out, the committee is a good place to be.
Some people are mentioning other weapons at receiver. Robert says Mike Wright carries the nuclear codes in the briefcase. Busy talking to the president. Yeah, I just think, going back to Wright, I think he's too talented to leave off the field, but it is what it is for an entire game at least. The other thing, too, and I wrote post-game was, look, in the biggest games, on the biggest stages, you have to have your stars play stars. You know, this goes back. I used to talk about this with Ronnie Woodward from the Reflector back in the day all the time. Like, your fastball's got to be your fastball in a moment. And, like, for whatever reason, ECU's best players offensively, Caton Hauser and Anthony Smith, just had bad games, had bad moments. You know, Anthony Smith had 3 drops per Pro Football Focus. I expect Anthony to be better. I expect Caton to be better. And, look, the other thing, too, was going into the game, we knew BYU was going to give ECU some man coverage, one high safety, and they they mix it up, but they stuck in that defense quite a bit, and they would show it pre-snap. And I felt like ECU did not take enough shots against it. There were times they did. But, man, like, if they're going to sit out there and guard Yannick and Anthony Smith one-on-one, they've got really good corners, but I feel like ECU should have tried them more. I don't know. And I don't know if that's a John David Baker thing or if that's a quarterback thing or a receiver thing, but, like, If they're going to sit there in one high and you're not going to test them vertically, like, then you're kind of playing it right into their hands too.
Yeah, and I think, going back to last year down the stretch, man, how many times did we take a shot just straight up down the side? And then how many times, now this is something you're going to do more against two high than one, but how many times did we have an air raid concept where you had the deep cross route with the shallow underneath? Now, it's something, again, you do more against two high than one, so not this game, but just we haven't seen that really at all this year. And now, again, I guess you didn't really have to against Coast or Campbell. Maybe you didn't have the time against State, and they run three high safeties at Coastal, so maybe we just haven't had the opportunity to do that. But the ability to do that last year with Winston Wright, I thought was going to be something that was going to trickle into this year. I thought it was going to be with Jaquez Pettaway. Now I feel like Brock Spalding's that guy. But where's that been?
Yeah, Jaquez Pettaway, 5 snaps, did not receive a target. At this point, seems to be well behind the initial 3 receivers. We'll see if he can figure it out the second half of the year now that conference play started. Terry Long says, we seriously need to discuss Caton's deep ball. He has not had it this season. I mean,
I don't think they've thrown it.
Yeah, I don't think they've thrown it enough. I mean, they've thrown it like once or twice a game. But I don't know. Like I think Caton. I just think once they hit one, like in the deep ball too is a low percentage play. I mean, even if you're really good at it, at best it's what 50-50, probably more like 40-60 as far as actually completing the pass.
Unless you're Bo Nix and you're 0-for-3.
Don't get me started. Man.
Sorry.
And he's missing wide open ones. But Caton, I just think they need to try more, like 5 shots a game instead of 2. Now, obviously, you got to be in the right defense, get the right call. And I know Army plays a lot of coverage, so it may not be the week. But yeah, they got to figure out a way to get the explosive plays back on offense because that was such a big part of the success last year. Especially if you're going to get man coverage with these receivers. We saw Yannick have a great game. You have good enough weapons. I think ECU's got to be able to hit explosives against man coverage. So that was honestly my biggest disappointment kind of the game is if BYU is going to play man coverage, even with a really good secondary, ECU's got to win, and they did not win quite enough across the board. All right, let's get a final break in. We'll come back. We'll continue on reading your comments and more on this Reaction Monday.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
My hair is definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
It just goes with the flow. Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
Royal and gold, we're the purple and golds.
Yo ho ho!
And we're back to Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, final segment here. And as much as I would love to sit here and dwell on this BYU game, because there's plenty of talking points, it's also one of those things, man, we got to get ready for Army. This game in 3 days, quick turnaround, and we'll get more into it in the coming days. But I thought, Philip, it was interesting at the press conference. Like, I just got the vibe that they're trying to underplay like the option thing. Like, obviously you got to prepare. Obviously you have to, last year they ran a totally different defense for the Army game last season. They played like 4 linebackers. It was basically like a 4-4. So, like, who knows what ECU is going to come out in this year. But Blake Carroll made the comment today. He was like, look, Army's got to play ECU on a short week. That's how we're approaching it. And we asked Blake about getting ready for the option. We asked Sam Danka about getting ready for the option, and they were just kind of like, it's another week. And I do feel like at times ECU has made the option the boogeyman. And, like, the more you talk about the boogeyman, the more you think about him, the worse it's going to get. And I'm torn on, like, maybe this is the right approach to finally just, like, get past the option. Like, hey, man, we see this in high school. Obviously, it's run at a different level at an academy like Army, but let's just line up and play football and see what happens.
Last year's loss to Navy, and then a couple years ago when they beat us in overtime at home, it wasn't like we weren't stopping them. I almost wonder, you mentioned, is it good that we're kind of just downplaying it? Like, it almost was like we were so caught up on it, what we needed to do defensively, went out there and played solid defensively, and then the offense just never got going. Like, I think with what we were talking about, like their ability to block guys bigger than them this week offensively, their ability, with the exception of like really one bad play, to be pretty solid against the run defensively. Like, these guys know what to do. They know what their responsibility is. Just have eye discipline, put your feet in the right spot, grab cloth. Like, at the end of the day, you're still playing football. It's a different style of football, but it's still football. And go out there and do what you got to do on defense. They're going to score. You're not going to pitch a shutout against Army. They're going to score. Who cares? Don't let them score every drive. And trust that your offense can, because I really think this offense can.
That is a good point, because even last year's Navy game, ECU did not play well offensively. They moved the football. I remember the first drive, 4th and goal. They had open receiver, missed them, and then like Navy, it was another defensive game that turned into kind of a Navy route by the end, similar to the BYU game in many respects, kind of thinking back on it. But, yeah, they look, Army's still a weird team. I don't really know. They have 2 quarterbacks that have played a good amount. They also started the North Texas game. They gave up a touchdown drive. They fumbled, gave up a touchdown, fumbled, gave up a touchdown. They're down 21-0. And then they come all the way back and tie it up, force overtime. North Texas kind of let them back into it. But you also have to credit Army for, coming back.
Yeah, that's their mindset, right?
Yeah.
You're a military academy. You're going to come in with that mindset, right?
You just don't normally see option teams do it.
You don't. But it's not like they were doing it with home run explosive plays. They just kind of kept playing their game. But, it's weird. With the service academies, you really want to get them at the very end of the year when they're like kind of worn down. I feel like they kind of fall off sometimes. But they peak in the middle. Now, if they've got an experienced offense, sometimes they peak early or their peak stays there for a while. But I still don't know if they really feel comfortable offensively. Like, when we saw them last year, man, that was one of the most comfortable within their own skin offenses in the country.
Clear
at the
identity.
time. Yeah.
You knew what they were going to do, and you couldn't stop it.
Yes, and they knew you weren't going to stop it. But now I don't know. I don't think they're pointing fingers at each other, but I think they're still just kind of trying to get it figured out. And Jeff Monken's going to get it figured out at some point. So maybe this is a year you're better off getting them a little early.
What a critical game, though. I mean, we'll again get more into it. We got about 2 minutes left. But if you win this game on a short week, you get a bye going into Tulane, which, by the way, has been officially announced as a 7:30 ESPN kickoff on that Thursday night.
Not 8 o'clock. Let's go.
Yeah, it was ESPN or ESPN2. I think there's another game. So ECU will have ESPN 7:30, ESPN 7:30, and ESPN 7:30 for the next 3 games. Army.
Coming off ESPN2 7:30.
Yep, Tulane.
Look at us. And students, we're not a big enough brand for you.
Yeah.
4 straight nationally televised games. The hell?
Well, we know Thursday they'll be downtown.
Oh, my goodness.
I love you, students, but please.
No, I don't anymore.
I even asked Blake Harrell. He did the smart thing, though. He did. He stayed away from it. He had to. But, look, you win this Thursday game, and you feel just fantastic going into the bye week. I don't care how ugly it is. You lose it, and it just changes it. This is a huge swing game.
It is, and then you're playing the best team in the conference the next game.
Yep.
I mean, let's just
or one of them.
Yeah, I mean it's between them and South Florida. They're the betting favorite right now. South Florida's probably the better team, but it's a 1A, 1B.
And you have that bye week to prepare, build it up. So it's just such a critical game. ECU Army 7:30. We'll get more into it in the coming days. Again, Pirates lose to BYU 34-13. I know there was a lot more in the comments we didn't get into, but appreciate everybody's participation. Great back and forth. We'll keep that going. If we missed it and you want to get it in for Tuesday, Wednesday, when we have a little more time, drop it in the chat tomorrow. But it'll be here Thursday before you know it, another game day. Appreciate everybody. We'll be back Tuesday, 12 noon on Hoist the Colors.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Get a recap of this show at 943thegame.com and on your IBX Media app, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Tune in weekdays at noon to get your ECU sports fix with Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 943 The Game.
Hoist the Colors!